I'm getting back at CBI.
You ain't getting a seat at the fucking table, D-Mac. As long as I'm in, you out.
Welcome back to CBI.
You mean welcome back to CBI?
The D-Mac starter pack, you've got the braids, the Tech 9, the biker helmet, and after episode 3 you've also got the grenade off of the black market. I posted this over on X where I normally tend to just post breaking news, but on the odd occasion I will drop a joke or two. And because it was a big episode for D-Mac, a big episode that will have a knock-on effect and a snowball effect on D-Mac himself, his Uncle Tommy and the CBI, I thought why not? This kid genuinely is crazy, and he did let off a big grenade in terms of what will follow now between Tommy and Diamond, but also the consequences which Tommy will no doubt have to clean up. 2 weeks ago we spoke about how D-Mac was a huge problem, whether Tommy would be able to save him before he makes another mistake. Well, we're now 2 episodes past that first D-Mac breakdown, and he's made not just 1 but 2 huge mistakes, and some of them Tommy doesn't even know yet. And that's the topic of discussion in today's breakdown. We're going to be talking about D-Mac growing up in the streets, some similarities and differences between him and Tariq. We're also going to be referring to the red and the blue pill or power, but those who have kept up with my off-season power breakdowns will know exactly what I mean. How his mistakes have spiraled into chaos, how he's very street smart but at the same time very raw and reckless, and finally, how this now has an effect on Tommy, the CBI, and how does Tommy save him before he goes on yet another suicide mission, in all things Power Book 4 Force, Season 3.
Hey, but I'm from the streets, man. Fuck else am I supposed to be doing?
Anything else?
Now before we get into the chaos that D-Mac's causing in Season 3, I do think we do need to supply some context, because context is definitely important. We have to remember the character that we were introduced to back in Season 1. He was chaos to begin with, shooting up JP's bar, wanting to be down with the CBI, trying to impress Jannard and wanting to make a move with Marshall's cousin, and then being cut out of that deal. He was also shot towards the end of Season 1. It really has been chaos from day one with D-Mac, and I do see a lot of comparisons with Tariq from the original Power in the comment section and across social media, especially because both of them happen to be Tommy's nephews. I do think it is normal to compare the two because both are kids around the same age, both are stupid, raw and smart at the same time, both happen to be Tommy's nephews, whose first kills also ended up being dirty cops. Tariq killed Ray Ray back in Power and D-Mac killed Seamus. D-Mac taking the gun from JP's drawer in Season 2 also reminded me of the time Tariq took the gun from Angela's cupboard from her apartment back in Power, and then the gun in the backpack. That was also another nice Easter egg and a callback to Tariq being caught with his in his backpack in OG Power. I personally think Tariq has been through a lot more than D-Mac has, in terms of consequences that is, losing loved ones and losing family members, which is something D-Mac definitely still needs to feel and go through. He still needs to feel that pain that Tariq went through when he lost Raina. He needs his actions to have consequences, because even though Nutty Boy died in the mission in episode 3, D-Mac literally just shrugged it off. He needs to have real consequences to his actions. Now on the flip side, D-Mac is definitely street through and through. He's been wild from the jump, just like he told Marshall in this conversation in episode 3. I mean, a grenade off the black market. This kid absolutely is crazy. He's chaos. And I think that's why the audience like D-Mac. We like watching chaos in Power. We like watching crazy characters. We like watching these missions that they go on. Raw characters like D-Mac and watching them develop into more calculated, ruthless gangsters. I mean, this is nothing compared to what we're going to see in Power Origins when it comes to the younger Ghost, Tommy and Kanan when they go on their missions. But he's been wild and crazy from the jump, whereas Tariq grew up in a penthouse suite in Tribeca. He also had a lot of things going for him, for example the opportunity to go to Choate, and even after everything that happened in Power and what he went through in Power, he still had the opportunity at Stansfield. He still had the opportunity with, I wouldn't say Western Holdings as such, that turned out to be a Ponzi scheme. But early in Season 4, he had the opportunity to escape. He had the opportunity to build, especially because he was smart enough to create business relations with the likes of RSJ. For D-Mac, he's never had that opportunity. Back in Season 1, he mentioned that his teachers thought he was stupid. But it wasn't that he was stupid, he had all this math and numbers in his head. He was a numbers kid. This is a very bright kid who just got dealt a very bad hand when he was a kid. He never had JP when he was growing up. I'm not too sure where his mom's is at this moment in time, but because of that, he doesn't know any other life. All he ever wanted from Season 1 is to be down with the CBI. That's why when he got sent to Great Shores where they wanted him to cut off his dreads, that wasn't for him. He's street through and through. So that's the context, that's the history, which I do think is important to remember when we're talking about a chaotic character like D-Mac. We have to remember where he's from, his struggles, and how he's been brought up in the streets. For some of you who remember my red pill and blue pill breakdown, which is a theme that we've seen across the Power universe. I did have a chapter in that breakdown that was dedicated to DMAC. We spoke about how Tommy is actually trying to change this toxic legacy and this toxic chain in Power's version of the Red Pill. But for DMAC, it stems from a very young age, him growing up in the streets. I asked a question in that breakdown whether Tommy would be able to rewrite history, but I think we've all seen how stubborn DMAC is. With DMAC, it always has and will be the Red Pill.
JP, DMAC chose this life, but he keep choosing it.
That's the life he's chosen and keeps choosing, but one mistake has literally spiraled into chaos. We've seen a huge snowball effect. He killed Sheamus, which, fine, was to protect Tommy and Diamond in Season 2, but then he came back and killed Mad Dog to try and get back into Diamond and the CBI's good books, and that's had a huge snowball effect. That caused big problems with King Kilo because Mad Dog was his nephew. King Kilo now wants DMAC dead, which by the way has been all going on behind Tommy's back. He still doesn't know any of that. That's something that still needs to be revealed to Tommy in terms of Mad Dog and King Kilo. But instead of laying low, instead of listening to Marshall, who did tell him in episode 2 he's acting reckless, he decided to go and make another move, which was the Chinese gambling spot. He then went and made a move on the 9/7s after Marshall told him it was a suicide mission, and after Jannard just told him he wasn't on top of the CBI's priority list the episode before. He's so eager to get back in and impress, he's willing to do anything, and that's now caused even more problems. One mistake after another has spiraled into major chaos. But I do want to actually say one thing. DMAC is very smart, and that's why context really is important, which we did go through earlier. You can tell that he's definitely about this life because of how he planned this hit to the 9/7s. Jannard said go and attack their stash house, but he knew their stash houses were very heavily guarded. His plan was to hit them before they even arrive. With a bit of recon work with the help of Bones and his cousin who flipped on the 9/7s, he was able to get one of the locations of one of their transfer locations, and that's where they were going to ambush them. And this really was DMAC showing his street smarts. For as reckless as he's been, this was him showing that he's not just any old street kid, he can come up with some good moves. At the same time, he is still very raw and he's very reckless. You can definitely be both. You can be smart and reckless at the same time, and I do think DMAC does fall into both categories at this moment in time. I'm sure the young Ghost and Tommy were also the same. They're going to show their street smarts, but at the same time they probably will be a bit reckless as well. But then they're going to have Kanan and Breeze put their arm around their shoulder, guiding them and mentoring them, and I think that's what DMAC needs. That's what DMAC's been missing for his entire life. A mentor, someone to look up to and guide him, just like Tommy will eventually mentor him and guide him. But just before we get to that, what happens next after this hit on the 9/7s? They did leave a hell of a mess at the scene of the crime. A member of the 9/7s is dead, and they also lost Nutty Boy, which you definitely have to question whether that will be traced back to the CBI, because he did mention that the CBI have been good to him. Will any of the other guys crack if and when they're pressed by law enforcement, or if they're pressed by the 9/7s? That's something we definitely have to keep in mind. That is one of two ways it can be traced back to the CBI. The other thing is, Tommy definitely will have a lot of questions. Episode 4 will be picking right up from where episode 3 left off, the moment Tommy walked into the basement of Diamond's barbershop, and the first thing, the look on Jannard and Diamond's face, honestly it absolutely was priceless. They know Tommy doesn't mess around. It goes all the way back to season 1 when Tommy made his presence felt in Chicago. They know this isn't a man that you want to get on the wrong side of. But Tommy has to start questioning, why the hell are Jannard and Diamond letting DMAC back into the CBI? Why are there 2 big bags of cash on the floor of Diamond's barbershop basement? What did DMAC go and do? Where did this cash come from, and did DMAC have anything to do with it? And why the hell did they send him on a suicide mission where DMAC attacked the 9/7s? Tommy's gonna have a lot of questions for Jannard and Diamond, that's for sure. That's number 1. The start of episode 4 will definitely be Tommy questioning Diamond. The other thing is, there are a lot of things that have been going on behind Tommy's back that he still isn't aware of, like DMAC killing Mad Dog, King Kilo wanting him dead. Since he left Great Shores, Tommy doesn't know what he's been up to behind the scenes, because neither DMAC or Diamond have told him. We also haven't seen Tommy speak to JP properly yet either, because they were also going through their own issues. But DMAC did also tell JP at the end of season 2, episode 10, he caught another body earlier that day. Eventually all of this shit is going to come out and Tommy's going to have to clean up a lot of DMAC's mess. It's kind of deja vu for Tommy, because he went through exactly the same thing with Tariq. It's the reason why I brought up Tariq earlier on in the breakdown. Tariq was the exact same in Power. He'd make mistakes, he'd make moves, steal product from Uncle Tommy's warehouse, get into deep shit with people like Vincent Ragni and the Italians, and then end up needing to be saved by Tommy and Ghost. Deja vu. He had to deal with one reckless nephew back in New York, where he at least had the help of Tasha and Ghost. Same thing in raising Kanan. Kanan making hella mistakes at the beginning of Power Book 3. Like the Bad Batch that he made in season 1. Rock had to clean up a lot of mess. But in Chicago, Tommy's having to deal with D-Mac on his own, who just won't listen. Tommy's gonna have to clean up a lot of D-Mac's mess going forward. And if I were in D-Mac's shoes, I think I'd probably come clean about the lick that he pulled as well on the Chinese gambling spot. It's gonna be like a never-ending cycle with Tommy trying to clean up D-Mac's mess this season. When he thinks he's got ahead of one, like maybe the 9-7s or King Kilo coming after D-Mac, he's gonna end up finding out that he's got the Chinese after him because of the robbery back in episode 2. In the short to mid-term, I do think it's the issues of the 9-7s and also King Kilo. He said he wanted D-Mac dead within a week, and I do think we are now approaching that week coming to an end. So you gotta assume that episode 4 may be the moment where King Kilo starts asking Jannard some questions. It's gonna get to the point where D-Mac is gonna leave Tommy with no choice but to bring him under his wing. So at least he can keep a closer eye on him.
It's time for you to be baptized into this life. Just like Kanan did for me and Ghost. Are you ready for this?
Fuck yeah, come on.
It goes back to the earlier point of him needing a mentor, him needing someone to look up to, him needing someone to guide him and influence him, which he's never had before. Tommy needs to save him from the CBI, he might need to save him from the 9-7s, he's also going to need to save him from King Kilo as well. He needs to keep him safe from maybe the Marquez cartel, because if they find out D-Mac is his nephew, family is fair game. Tommy just killed Roberto Ortega's uncle in episode 3, so they'll have no problems in repaying the favor. He has to protect his family. He also needs to keep him away from law enforcement. Tommy's going to have to do a lot of damage control for the rest of this season, and the only way I feel he can is if he brings him under his wing, where he then has a closer eye on him at all times. Once he finds out about everything else that D-Mac's done and what he's been up to, once we maybe see a big consequence like JP's death, Genesis, or maybe even Marshall, that's when Tommy will no doubt bring him under his wing. But going forward, a lot of damage control will be needed for D-Mac's mess. In the short to mid-term, Tommy will probably have to protect him from the 9-7s, clean that mess up, and also deal with the situation with King Kilo, because we have to be approaching that 1 week mark pretty soon. With that situation alone, I can go on for another 10 minutes, because then you have Diamond who's been hiding the fact that he called a hit on D-Mac. He was also the one who put D-Mac on this suicide mission to try and get rid of him. So the snowball effect isn't just Tommy cleaning up D-Mac's mess, it's also creating complications at the top of CBI's hierarchy, which probably will be one of the main reasons why Tommy ends up becoming a lone wolf. But that's where we are with D-Mac, and that's where I think we're heading in the short term in these next 2-3 episodes. Damage control will definitely be needed. Tommy will have to clean up a lot of mess, but when he cleans up one, that's when I think they're going to kick him with another, because we know how power works. Once you deal with one problem, surprise, here's another. So that's what I'm expecting in the next 2 or 3 episodes. Tommy trying to do damage control, the issues with the 9-7s and also King Kilos are the ones to keep in mind for the next 2 episodes in my personal opinion. And then also later on, the Chinese. But the floor is now yours. Drop all your thoughts and predictions down below in the comment section and let me know how you see this story playing out with D-Mac going forward. Drop all your comments down below, and as always, thank you guys for watching and I'll see you next time.